Hello, this is Tehila, High Priestess of the Coven of the Open Mind, and I have with me my good friend B.
Me.
You want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Brayhan, and I've been friends with you for 6 years.
A long time.
And I'm like basically a Celtic mystic, and I also have heritage lineage as well as earned lineage as far as magic is concerned. But I'm just here to chit chat, and I think we're here to talk about curses today.
Curses. So, as all of you probably already know, on our YouTube channel, I don't do curses. I don't have anything against people that curse other people, but I'm Wiccan, and I don't think that it's in line with the Rede. So the Wiccan Rede goes,
Familiar.
And harm none, do as thou will, lest in self-defense it be, ever mind the rule of three. But the way that last part, the rule of three, is interpreted, it can be interpreted a lot of different ways, basically. So I take it to mean that anytime you do anything, your actions are magnified by three, because you are defined on three levels: your emotional, physical, and spiritual levels. Then, if things happen to you, you should take whatever you're given and send it back out, 3 times as much, which is like kind of completing the cycle.
Right.
So that's like a very traditional view of karma. A lot of people take the Rede to mean other things. There are many Wiccans who take it to mean what will happen if a witch has to act in self-defense. She'll react with 3 times her strength, and 3 times whatever you do to her, she'll do to you, and that's why you shouldn't fuck with a witch. So,
I suppose, yeah, that sounds about right, in line with Wicca.
That's how you interpret it.
That sounds about right, yeah.
Okay.
I'm not Wiccan, I'm a witch. But I suppose in this regard, since I am a Celtic mystic, I already knew I'd have to shy away from that, because goddesses like Caradwen and the Morrigan, they are triple goddesses, and that can demand the law of three. But in order to not confuse people, I'm just going to go with my other blood-earned religion, which is Brujeria, because I am Caribbean. And in Brujeria, there are 7 main powers, gods and goddesses. And the basis of Brujeria is this: slaves were not allowed to practice their native witchcraft of Africa. They had to practice Christianity. So in order to disguise it, they worshipped the saints, who were actually their gods, who they put Christian saints on as a mask.
It happened in Celtic regions too.
So it's definitely it's definitely interesting, the history of Brujeria. Basically, the slave masters never knew their slaves were practicing witchcraft, because the slaves were saying, "Oh, we're worshiping this saint," but the slaves themselves knew it's this god or goddess. And that's how Brujeria and Santeria evolved. And there's a whole history behind that. But in Brujeria, basically, the relationship is between you, yourself, and your god and goddess. There is no three. There is no, what I want to give out is tripled by 3. It's just your relationship between yourself and the goddess, and what you're privileged as having. What is your allotment based on who your supervisor, your god and goddess, allows you to have.
Yeah.
And it's a very personal relationship. It's not based on you. It's based on your relationship with your god or goddess and what they permit you to have or not have. And if they feel like you're not allowed to cast this curse or have this blessing, then they won't allow you to have it. And they will explain to you why.
So that's just like in Wicca, too, how I always say that deity has the ultimate trump card. It doesn't matter how good your spell work is. If deity is like, no, that's not how it's going down, then that's game over. Find a new strategy.
Yeah. And I think that Brujeria and all those Hispanic forms of witchcraft, they can be a little intimidating, because people don't know what that means. Like, what do you mean you get an allotment? It's like, well, you get an allotment, exactly like I said. I don't even speak Spanish. You get an allotment. It doesn't matter what your heritage or language is, you get an allotment of favors that you're allowed to cash in when it's time to cash in. But of course, that's giving your offerings, like with any god or goddess, giving your offerings, giving your prayers, and you have an allotment. And that allows you to curse somebody, which we'll get into.
Okay, so summarize the moral comment on cursing from all that.
So the cursing comment is this. If you deserve to curse somebody, you will be able to.
Okay.
That's it.
That's great. Yeah, that's very simple.
But if
So you can always try.
You can always try.
Yeah.
But if you don't deserve to curse that person, you won't be able to. So, for example...
Does something bad happen to you in that case?
It depends on
Okay.
your relationship with that person. So, for example, if I wanted to curse somebody who I've known for 5 years, I know specifically that person's real name, I know their birth date, I know where they work, I know where they live. Those are all really important information to know when cursing somebody because it shows the intimacy that you have with that person. Mm-hmm. If I'm not intimate with you and I don't know your birthday, etc., then I have no business cursing you because you're not in close enough proximity for the curse to matter or make a difference.
Okay.
So for the curse, when you're cursing somebody, you have to have a relationship with that person such for that the curse matters in the long term. Like if someone's racist to you in traffic and yells a slur out their window and you curse them, you don't know anything about that person. So if you curse them, it's not going to be effective. And potentially you will have wasted your will, like on that person. Like, oh, I hope you crash. Well, that's dumb because you don't know that person's name. You don't have any emotional ties to them. You have no magical link to that person. Whereas if you work with somebody who is pissing you off, you of course are sharing a magical link with them because you share energy fields with them no matter what. You're touching auras, you're sharing energy, you're sharing intentions. And of course that malice builds an energy of its own. The malice builds an energy of its own. So that in itself is a target for the curse to target.
Yeah.
You know, your curse may not be targeting the person, more so the malicious energy between the two of you or the hateful energy between the two of you.
Interesting.
I hope that makes a difference.
Yeah.
Did I explain that really well?
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Okay.
I've never heard anything like that, quite like that before, so it's very interesting.
Yeah, if you don't know the person, your curse will not work.
Yeah, so this is why some people say that you shouldn't give out your star chart information.
To people you don't know.
Yeah, because it can be used for baneful magic. I rely on shielding, so I just don't really think that anyone's going to get me through the shielding. But.
Right. But some people fall unaware, and they fall prey to things like giving away your star chart to people they don't really know, or someone who just says, oh yeah, I'll read your star chart, it's $50, it's totally fine.
Or if there's any chance that you'll willingly let someone in.
Right.
If they try to attack you because you like them or something, you're like, oh look, who's trying to get in? And then it's like a Trojan horse.
It is a Trojan horse. It is. It is.
So
I think that
you don't want to give it to someone who's like a friend and then they like betray you or something.
Right. Well, that's...
You got to make sure the person you're giving them to, and you got to make sure that your shield is, you're not going to let someone in, you know, just because you know them, like, subconsciously. Like.
And I guess that's a good barometer. If you're willing to curse a specific person, just think, well, if this specific situation didn't happen, would we have been the best of friends or had the closest companionship? And if the answer is yes, then maybe that person is worth cursing because you have that level of emotional investment and proximal investment in that person. You see that person often enough, you know about enough about them, that the curse will make a difference.
Okay. So
it's all about intention.
So let's talk about cursing. So
specifically,
how do you curse someone?
However you want. So, I know that sounds annoying, but it's really however you want.
Let's talk about some associations. What herbs do you use? When do you do it?
You can do it anytime you want. It's just a matter of when you want to do it. So say, for example, I know your coven, you do a lot of moon work. So if you're doing a waxing moon, you want to build a curse to gradually make that person miserable. If it's on a waning moon, perhaps you want to do a curse to gradually get that person away from you, gradually get that person to leave you the fuck alone, etc.
So it's just like regular spell work, but it's like, but it's a whole new category.
Right.
Okay.
So what do you want to bring in and what do you want to leave? I strongly recommend, obviously curses, they take a lot of intention and a lot of concentration. So doing 4 spells a month might not be a bad idea. Full moon, new moon, dark moon, and then as well as your waning and waxing.
So you would tell people to regularly practice cursing? Or no? Like, what are you saying with that last comment?
Do it in layers.
Do one curse many times.
Right. Do one curse to keep their intention focused.
Oh, okay. Interesting. So you reinforce it every time you do it.
Right, you have to feed the spell.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah. Sometimes one spell is not enough for one person. And if it's one time for you, perfect. I applaud you, but a lot of people can't.
Peter J. Carroll, the author of the Liber Newell, who I'm always talking about on our channel, he says something very similar, and that's his take on sigils, actually. You reinforce it over time. Like, you have the symbol in your head, and every time you think of it or see it somewhere, it reinforces it.
Yeah. Like, when I started learning sigils and runes, like, I'd write a sticky note, put it in my notebook, put it in my car, put it on my bathroom mirror, put it in my book of shadows, put it in my work binder, put it in the inside of my laptop, so I could repeatedly see it and remember the meaning of it. And I'd only have to do that for however long, whether it's a few hours or a few days, but eventually I'd memorize the meaning of that specific rune.
Okay.
Because memorizing the Theban alphabet is not easy. It wasn't for me. Also, it's like a completely different language, so of course it's going to be a little more difficult because it's not like a Roman language where we have the same alphabet.
Yeah. Okay, so what about like herb associations? And like, okay, say someone wants to do a curse now. Mm-hmm. What do they do? What are some, like, I know there's like the witch bottle, or they can make a poppet.
Yeah, they can do all those things. So say you want to curse somebody, you want to keep them off your property, or you want them to stay away from you at work. Something like chili powder, black pepper, turmeric, and salt, of course. Alright, so let's just take those 4. Chili powder, black pepper, salt, and turmeric. Mm-hmm. Alright, so that's 4. North, south, east, and west. Invoke whatever god or goddesses you so please. Mix them into a jar, put your intention on it, close the jar, and then sprinkle it on your porch and on the front and back entrances of your job. If you need to sprinkle it like around your cubicle, that's totally fine. Don't be afraid to also go to that person's desk and sprinkle it there.
Okay.
In your driveway, on their front porch, on your own front porch.
It's like spices. So do you know why?
I think more so it's because of the flavor that they invoke when they're in your mouth. Mm-hmm. So because of that, there's a psychological association of this is hot and I should stay away. Mm-hmm. The same way fire would. So basically, if you imagine those 4 spices in your mouth, it would be very salty and bitter and not something you want to like do again.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to also just like put it on their porch. And you can truly use anything. As far as spices, if it's really simple and it has to be quick, if you have a bay leaf and you write their name on a bay leaf and, maybe write a piece of paper with, like, what has happened between the 2 of you or the group of you thus far, and wrap the bay leaf with the intention or the intended person's name inside, wrap it in that paper or the letter, and burn it.
Okay.
And then, of course, discard the ashes far away from your home. Do not put them in running water behind your house or a stream behind your house. Like, that's not gonna favor you.
Okay.
Do it discard of the evidence far away from your home.
Why not in running water?
Because running water can travel in any direction, including back to you.
I see. So you don't want the ashes in your house.
Right. You don't want it, theoretically, the ashes to come back through your tap.
Okay. So let's talk. So what about witch bottles? Like, you know how people do that for banishing?
Same things. Take that letter of the person, of the story of what's happened between the 2 of you so far, and shove it into the witch bottle. Okay. You can also put the same bay leaf into the witch bottle, filling the witch bottle with what fluid? You could use red wine. Okay. Red wine and saliva, various other bodily fluids, semen,
urine,
yeah. Semen, blood, whatever. Whatever you want to use, you can use it.
So then picture the person, pee on it, shove it in a bottle,
you want to use a picture,
and then bury it outside.
If they have a business card and you're not able to get a picture of them, that's totally fine. Use their business card. If you have a piece of mail from their mailbox, even if it's junk mail, make sure you cut out their name and address. It's not difficult.
Okay.
It's not difficult.
So have you ever worked with baneful herbs? Mugwort is sometimes here baneful, but vervain, the belladonna, monk
Sure,
should.
sure. And all that stuff does go into the bottle or burn. I don't recommend burning those incense in your own house.
Yeah.
You can put that all in the bottle, but what's important is that when the witch bottle is broken at the landfill, which is what I would do, make the witch bottle, seal it. If I want to do another spell on top of the witch bottle, melt a candle on top of it, whatever, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
But I will always put it in a dumpster far away from my house.
In a dumpster?
Yeah, because you can't bury it. You can't bury it in a place where theoretically no one's going to find. If somebody has a construction site on it later, they might open it or just throw it out. But eventually, you want it to get to the landfill as soon as possible. This way, when it's crushed, the spell is completed.
So you think it completes when it gets broken?
Right. So
Okay.
the witch bottle has to be broken by somebody, not you.
Okay. I never heard that.
Never?
Mm-mm.
All right, so say we make a witch bottle for someone that you don't like or that I don't like. We drive 2 hours north, south, east, or west, and we throw it over a bridge.
Ah.
When the witch bottle hits the bottom of that river and breaks, the spell's done. Because it's going to break.
Yeah.
The witch bottle is going to break.
Yeah.
Because it's made of glass.
Right. Okay.
So
Interesting.
that's very important.
Interesting.
It's not the same as binding somebody. Making a witch bottle to curse somebody is not the same as binding someone. If you're binding someone, you're not necessarily cursing them.
I go on and on about that, so don't worry.
Not the same.
So, another question. Oh, shoot. I just had another question.
You forgot it?
Give me a second. So, oh yeah. What is your policy on, should you tell other people about the curse? Does that weaken it if they don't believe in it or something?
That's a good question. I would say
Like how I have.
if that person does not believe in magic, that's kind of tricky. But if they know that the is real, you should definitely ask yo, I'm gonna put a curse on them. What do you think? They're like, oh yeah, fuck that person up, and then you have their intention.
Okay.
So remember that they said that when you make your witch bottle.
So it matters not only if they believe that it's possible, but if they would support the curse.
Yeah.
Okay, so hypothetically, telling someone that you did it who doesn't want it to work, subconsciously even, would weaken the curse.
Yeah. I'd say so. I'd say
I thought so too.
But as far as spells go, excuse me. I think that the spell works for you, the practitioner, once you forget about it.
That's exactly what Peter J. Carroll
So
says.
if somebody else is talking about it, thinking about it, and asking you about it, hey, did you curse that person?
Then it's going to be less effective.
Then it's going to be less effective, or it's going to take longer to work because you keep thinking about it. What's the point in having an intention?
Do it, forget about it, it's done, and eventually it'll come
Yeah,
true.
that bottle's going to break.
So we also talked about possibly using paper bags, and they decompose, and when they decompose, then it starts.
Mm-hmm. And whatever's in the bag. So if you
that's another way.
carve the person's name into the candle, say that it's a curse, blah, blah, blah. Take the same note paper, put it underneath the candle, burn that down, and when the wax is all melted down, when the spell's finished, put all the waste from the spell into the brown bag. You can write more stuff on the outside of it, and then bury it wherever it needs to be buried. Whether that's on the job site, because you don't want that person to go near you or get that promotion, or on their property because you need them to leave you the hell alone.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, interesting. So, I know that you don't really practice voodoo.
No.
But do you know anything about that and how it compares to some of the more classic curse techniques that we just discussed?
I mean, I can give you a voodoo spell right now.
Okay. I don't know anything about it.
So, all right. So once again, you have to know the person. So, I have access to the person's hair, their clothes, maybe a scarf goes missing, or a sweater from the gym goes missing, or a thread of fabric pulls from their sweater. Mm-hmm. One thing people do is they'll take a iron nail and consecrate it, with the intention, with the permission of this god or goddess that they have.
Okay.
And then wrap the fabric and hair around the nail. And put some various herbs and or fluids on it, whatever, and bury it on that person's property.
Okay, so that's very similar.
Yeah, it's like binding that person to the rusty nail, and as the nail rusts and decomposes, the fabric decomposes and rusts as well, allowing the person to have less of a connection to you.
Interesting.
I mean, you could also bury the nail on their property and then pee on the spot where you buried it. I mean, do
lots of peeing.
Lots of
in
peeing.
curses.
Why? I mean, spit on it. Do whatever. I don't
spit
care.
too. Yeah.
I don't care.
Very interesting stuff.
Also, wine is always a good choice, but you should also probably consider the alcohol of your deity's liking.
Okay. Choosing something. Yeah, didn't you say something about that to me once where you went into the store and you were going to curse someone or something and you found a bottle that had like a deity's name?
Oh, yeah. So when I go like alcohol shopping for a specific deity, like I look at all like
good shit.
Specifically wine bottles for this particular deity or pantheon, and then like whatever like cover or like decoration on the wine bottle matched the god. That's the one I got. So for this weekend,
working with the Morgan, look for some ravens.
Look for some ravens, or Odin, look for some ravens. Yeah. Sometimes, like Castle of the Devil, like all right, go right for it. It doesn't matter.
Fuck yeah. Devil is great at cursing people.
Go right for it.
So, it's like his only job.
I don't recommend that for people watching like a beginner style video like this.
Well, yes, let's talk about the dangers of cursing for a minute and how to stay safe. For instance, don't touch any of the baneful herbs that we mentioned for Bane, any of the nightshades, which other names for them are, monkshood, wolfsbane, belladonna. Don't touch any of these without gloves. Because even though they're beautiful, they're very poisonous. Even though they'll go through your skin and kill you.
You can do a baneful spell without those herbs.
Yeah, see, just use the spices. Tell us more about that.
You can use a rotted fish head from the Spanish or like ethnic food store.
Rotted fish heads. Yum.
Fish heads. You buy a fish head.
Okay.
And you wear gloves because bacteria.
Still wear gloves.
You can write that person's name on a
Make sure you
paper.
buy it rotted, of course.
No, don't buy it rotted. It's a fish head. It's already rotting. Write that person's name on a piece of parchment and write your intention. Roll that shit up. Put it in the fish's mouth. Close the mouth. And then you can nail the mouth shut with some pins.
Wonderful.
And bury that shit somewhere. Bury it on their property. Fuck them.
And then just throw a fish at them.
But it could be that as the fish head is rotting on their property, their life is absolutely miserable. And by the time the fish head rots away, the spell's over. They learn the lesson. They'll not fuck with you anymore.
You see, that's one that ends eventually. See, that's kind.
All about your intention. Or it could be the spell starts once the fish head is fully decomposed. You got it. It's all about your intention.
Tricky.
It's not tricky. It's
so
very simple.
How do beginners make sure that their curses don't rebound back on them?
Make sure that you know the person. If you don't know things like their real name, their full name, their birth date, their address, where they work, then what is your real relation to this person and how is this person's curse of relation to you? If you don't know those things, you probably don't have a legitimate enough reason to hate them. I think that's pretty legitimate.
Okay.
Even if the only thing I know about you is your full name and possibly your birth month or birth year or your general neighborhood of where you live.
So your defense is...
Make sure you know the person well enough to legitimize the curse.
Your defense is basically like the same argument behind abstinence. It's like don't curse someone unless you want to have a baby, you know?
So like people, for example, who want to curse President Donald Trump. They don't have a personal relationship with him, so that spell is useless.
Right, so you want to curse him, but what's really the problem are all the people that support him.
Exactly.
So you can't just like curse him and expect the problem to go away. So if you're trying to curse him, that could rebound on you, is that what you're saying?
Right.
The curse needs to be valid in the eyes of these, of your deities, basically.
Right.
Before you are safe and sure that, any action taken to achieve that end is safe.
Spell that backfired.
Okay, tell us.
I have a story.
Okay.
So, I, had this job, and I can't tell you on camera what it was. I'll tell you after.
Okay.
I had this job in which I worked with a lot of people, and it was very important that these people's safety was of the utmost importance. I will simply leave it at that. You can assume whatever. And I did not like a particular coworker, I did not like a particular manager, and I didn't like the overall management of this facility. So, of course, I cursed the coworker, I cursed the manager, and I cursed the job as a whole because of the policies that were in place that left me in my position of being written up and whatever else. First off, I got fired. Secondly, that place got shut the fuck down. But I wasn't working there when they got shut down. Okay? But that's how the spell backfired. It worked out for me because I moved on to bigger and better things. But I wasn't implicable when the state came in and investigated and shut that place down. Spell that backfired.
Backfired because it was really a good thing.
Yeah, it was for the better that I wasn't working there. But it backfired because I was out of a job.
So don't suck or you'll get fired.
No, that place had to go. And then it ended up I worked at another place where a familial member of one of my clients there knew about that place where I worked and knew that they got shut down. They're like, wait, I think I remember you. And I was like, yeah, I used to work there, but now I work here. And it's weird that you're one of, like, the familial parental units that used to go there and pick up whoever you were going to see or whatever. And they were like, yeah, I filed a report to the state about that place. Glad you don't work there. So that was a real story.
Yeah.
That legit happened.
So
spells that backfire. Make sure you know the place or the person that you are cursing very, very well. Even if you only know their full name, but make sure that like you have a legitimate reason to curse this person. Not the person yelling at you in traffic.
That's a very valid way of thinking about it, I think.
It's not difficult. And there's nothing evil about it if this person or place or thing is genuinely in the way of your spiritual path. Then your gods and goddesses will make the path for you. Hence, brujeria, and why you have permission or an allotment to do these things.
Yeah.
Whereas in Wicca, it's the rule of three no matter what you do.
I mean, so in Wicca, we would just not curse them at all. Probably.
So what, you just like...
So if my boss is pissing me off, I would light a candle to help him get promoted so that he's not my boss anymore.
So I would light a candle to like, hey, let this person trip over their own dick. Since they want to swing it around so much. Like, just let them mess up their own life.
Okay.
That's not a curse.
So this is just a good example for you guys. I'm always talking about how there's other kinds of witches in the world, and here's one, right? So, and this is totally okay. As long as she's not trying to curse anyone in my coven.
No. And also I am a more Celtic Norse mystic, but I don't apply the rule of three because that doesn't apply to me. Yeah. That doesn't work for me, so I don't use it. A lot of
different interpretations of it in any case.
But of course, you see that I do have limitations. Like, I can't just go around cursing any old body. I have to have a legitimate reason and a legitimate connection to that person. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily a legitimate reason, but this is the cumulative reason why. And if the spell's not meant to work, then your candle will explode, or your jar won't close, or...
There you go. So if it's not meant to work, then you won't even be able to do it.
Right. Which is why it's important to do your spells accumulatively, like I said earlier, full moon, dark moon, new moon, waning and waxing. This way you can continuously see, okay, should I keep going, or is this good? Is this a good place to stop? Do I just need to meditate and collect my shit real quick?
Yeah.
So, recommend that for sure.
Last question before we head out here. Do you have any, book resources or links or anything that people could use, or did you just basically learn this through experience and through your birthright?
I guess experience and birthright. One, can I recommend a YouTuber?
Sure.
Okay. YouTuber Sancista Brujo Luis. He practices brujeria. He is Boricua, Puerto Rican, Taino like myself, and he knows a lot about magic and the spiritual path of brujeria and sanse. And I know those are not English terms, but he speaks English, he translates and explains very well. And in the comments for your video that you post, he puts whole essays.
Oh, wow.
He's very, very explanatory. We'll
put a link to his YouTube channel in the description. Yeah. You guys. Thanks for joining us. All right. Everyone here at the Coven of the Open Mind.
All right. I'm Brayhan. It was nice seeing you guys.
Blessed be.